Tim Priester with Pete Sampson here on Media Day, or one of, I guess, a couple media days that will precede Notre Dame's national championship game on January 7th. And Pete, the biggest news coming out of this, a lot of talk, big picture talk, matchup talk, but probably the biggest news is that Zach Martin and Louis Nix have already committed to staying here for the 2013 season.
Yeah, by far. I mean, we talked to both those guys about that. Zach said, it's a combination of chance to play with his brother, the winning that they've experienced. Like, he's never had this much fun playing football in Notre Dame before, and just he said that he got kind of a second round feedback, felt like he could probably do a little bit better than that. Louis Nix said he didn't wait for any feedback at all, so he had no idea where he stood. So that was kind of interesting to hear that as well, because he said that his mom really leaned on him. That was a big influence, that she wanted to come up, walk with him for senior day next year for the final home game. So yeah, I mean, clearly that's the story of the day, which is saying a lot considering they're playing in the national championship game in 3 weeks.
Well, that assures a higher degree of success next year. Of course, you keep, you have 3 offensive linemen returning now in the starting lineup there with Martin at left tackle, and to me, Louis Nix. I mean, you've got Nix and Tuitt coming back, and as great a season as Manti Te'o has had, he's had those 2 future NFL defensive linemen in front of him, along with Cameron Lewis Moore. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, the other stuff kind of going on today, nuts and bolts, Everett Golson, can he get stronger? Can they work in the red zone to be more efficient there? I mean, those are kind of things Brian Kelly talked about, Everett Golson talked about today. And those are kind of ongoing storylines. That's not something they're gonna get solved probably even before they take off for Miami. I think that would be something that they'd touch up down there. We talked to the assistant coaches today for the first time in quite a while. Chuck Martin talked about how just shocked he is about how far this offense and this team has come. He said, go look at the Purdue tape, go look at Michigan State. We couldn't run a play to start the game. Now look where we are. That's been a constant source of pleasant surprise for him. But yeah, just overall, I think the program in some ways is kind of getting back in its groove now after kind of a disjointed last couple of weeks where Manti's out on the awards circuit, Brian Kelly is out, coaches are out recruiting. Now it's just all about Alabama, which I think is probably the first time Notre Dame has been just about Alabama right now, because they've had so many other things to deal with.
Right. We even had an opportunity, or at least I had an opportunity to talk to Paul Longo a little bit, and we really don't have a whole lot of access to him. And I mean, he always felt like the process was coming along. You don't get the credit, you don't realize the progress that they're making in strength and conditioning until you put together a 12-0 season. And it's a step-by-step process with him. You take each kid individually and try to make him better than he was the year before, and even now make them better during this 44-day span between games than they were prior to that.
Yeah, it was interesting. I chatted with him a little bit just about how you see it in year 3. This is kind of what happened in Central, kind of what happened in Cincinnati. Well, exactly what happened in Cincinnati, really. That it's kids learning how to lift weights properly. It's kids, getting kind of some stuff in the bank in terms of strength numbers. And it's fun to talk to him a little bit about Golson. He sees him, being a 200-pounder eventually. Stephon, maybe he's going to put on another 5-10 pounds, maybe, but probably not going to get much bigger, but going to get a lot stronger. So he used the term secret a lot about how do you coach guys up in the weight room but not burn them out when they're out on the field being coached by Brian Kelly. And so it was kind of an interesting conversation. There's a lot going on there. You really feel like there's a science and an art being married in the weight room here.
No doubt about it. And then obviously an opportunity to talk to a handful of the players, and I was specifically focusing in on the linemen, because that's where the game's going to be won here. I mean, it's going to be a red zone game. We'll be seeing a story on red zone offense and defense, and that's the one area where Notre Dame has a deficiency in comparison to Alabama. I mean, just about all the other numbers are the same except red zone, which then relates to why Alabama averages 38 points a game and Notre Dame only 26. So that'll be a key area. We have a ton of stories to write now after a little bit of a gap there between our last series of interviews with Brian Kelly and the players. So plenty to read about the upcoming game with Notre Dame, Alabama, on the national championship on January 7th as we head into the Christmas holidays. I'm Tim Priester with Pete Sampson. We'll talk to you soon.